Thank you, Angela. Next, I would like to introduce John Larkin, who is a veteran of the Afghanistan War, Operation Enduring Freedom. He is the coordinating committee member for Rhode Island Poor People's Campaign. He's a long-term anti-war activist, and he's also a member of the Green Party of Rhode Island.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank Just PCRI for inviting me to speak today. And I just had a few talking points that I wanted to go over based on my work with the Poor People's Campaign. So we talk a lot about how, for example, this sign here, the war on poor people is immoral, and we always talk about the war economy being immoral. As Representative Morales stated, now we're at $800+ billion a year spent on war. So I wanted to start with the transparency bill. So in Rhode Island, we have almost $10 billion in that fund. And we are charged with, in the legislature and in the leadership in Rhode Island, they're charged with spending that money wisely. And I like what Senator Mack had to say about how we can either spend each dollar to promote positivity or negativity in the world. And that's like a really, really important point to note, because these dollars have real ramifications for real people everywhere in Rhode Island and in the world. Transparency is the first step to education, and education is the first step to true democracy. If you don't know transparently what's going on with your government and how they're spending your money, you can't really educate yourself, and if you can't be educated, you can't engage in true grassroots democracy. This is the people's money, and we deserve to know where it goes, ultimately. Once we know where it goes, we can begin to divest from the war economy. Just some notes on that. Right now, $778 billion is scheduled to be spent in fiscal year 2022 on the war economy, and then it will likely be $800+ billion. That money takes away from education, from housing, from Medicare for all, and all these topics where politicians will generally tell us we don't have the money for it. Well, we do have the money for it. It just depends on what we want to spend that money on, right? So, two quotes on this, and then I'll go to the nuclear bill. Dwight Eisenhower said, and a lot of people have quoted that in the lead up to this press conference, "Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired signifies, in the final sense, a theft from those who hunger and who are not fed, those who are cold and are not clothed." So, again, with what Senator Mack said, each one of these dollars has real ramifications, and we should know where this money is spent so that we can make more educated decisions on how we can spend it in the future. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "A nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual doom." I don't even need to follow that up. That's a very clear message. Just a quick bit before my time runs out. On the Treaty for the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, ICAN, which is the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, started this in 2017. It's been adopted by the United Nations, and 60 countries have ratified it. So this is not like some fringe radical bill that nobody knows about. This is in the UN with almost a majority of countries in the world now signed on board. And as the sign says right here, it's going to make nuclear weapons illegal over time. Quick tidbit about nuclear weapons. In the United States, we spend over $40 billion a year just on the upkeep and the testing of nuclear weapons. What could we do with $40 billion a year? With $40 billion a year, we could end food scarcity and hunger in the United States. And for $40 billion a year, in addition to that, we could also end homelessness. So those each cost about $20 billion. There's your $40 billion right there. Thank you so much for your answer.
Thank you very much, John.